Let's go, folks. Miami Hurricanes live for a 162nd edition. We got the Wholesome One standing by, ready to take your comments, your questions, anything you want us to debate or challenge you with. Please leave it there in the live chat. We're just weeks away from August camp. Wholesome One, how we doing today?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. Just trying to keep the positive energy. I know a lot of our Canes fans are a little disgruntled right now. I think that's a great word, disgruntled. Not necessarily negative or positive, just kind of uneasy and disgruntled about what's going on in recruiting. But besides that, we're doing well.
So let's get right to it with the latest in recruiting news. And it necessarily doesn't focus on the commits, but the guys that were lost.
Yeah, so we lost out on two recruits this past July 4th, this past weekend, and two high 3-star, 4-star kind of guys in Jacoby Spells and defensive end Durant. So here's the thing. There's been back and forth conversation about the fact that the Miami Hurricanes only have 3 commits. We only had 4 at one point, and one of them decommitted, and Quan Lee. And so we ended up having Ibieta, who is the slot receiver that we're going to hold on to through here. Okay. It's not really much I can say to just fix it. Okay. I can't fix people's emotion towards this. And I do understand. We were saying the same thing in March that we were saying in April, that we were saying in May, that we were saying in June, and now we're saying the same thing here in July. And a lot of people want to start seeing some movement, damn it. I understand, but it's July. And a lot of commits for the Miami Hurricanes, or top 5 or top 8s or top 12s who will be committing, are in this month of July. You also have training camp, which is 2.5 weeks away, the first week of August. So things are going to start rolling. ACC, SEC, Big Ten media days. You know, football is about to be. You can start smell the grass, Mark. You can smell the grass is coming up, and I completely understand people's frustration towards this. I understand that you want to see your Miami Hurricanes get rolling. I understand you're tired of having people from Tallahassee and UCF and Gainesville in your mentions bothering you about the fact that you have the 75th ranked recruiting class and you're behind Memphis and yada, yada, yada. None of that stuff matters right now. I side with our head coach, but I also understand where our fans are coming from. But I side with our head coach. You don't want to win the June and July baking battle, is how he put it. Okay, you don't want to be the number 1 recruiting class in the month of June. We get to December and you're 18th. Okay, for the longest, think back to Coach Al Golden. Al Golden had the number 1 recruiting class a year or 2 years out multiple times. It never finished that high. Okay, we finished as high as number 8 under Al Golden with my recruiting class 2014. But even then, we lost a whole bunch of recruits because guess what? We went out there and went 9-4. We didn't go out there and go 11-1 or 11-2 or 12-1, something like that on a different level. Okay, there is going to become a point where foot is going to meet ball. Okay, and you got to start going out there and playing football games, and that's where the NLI, that's where the Bagman, that's where all the AC, your conference pride, all that crap goes out the window. Who's winning football games? Who's losing football games? Who's developing first-round draft picks? Who's developing high strength and conditioning first-round draft pick bodies? And who's winning championships? That's what matters when you start playing football here in less than a month, or a little over a month as far as actual games. So, just that simple.
All right. Not seeing any comments or questions right now in the live chat, so I'm going to hit you up with a few stats and get your response to some things that were measured on the football team from last year. Want to remind everyone, leave your comments, your questions in the live chat. We will get to them. The super chat's available to you. So a couple different ways to contribute. You can contribute again. Super chat's available. Also, go to Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. And if you do and you want to contribute specifically to this show, then you let me know right there. So you go to Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. And if you understand the YouTube situation, you bypass YouTube and can contribute right to the Voice of College Football. But if you want to contribute directly to our show with the Wholesome One, please let me know right there. All right, Wholesome One, I'm going to hit you up with some stats that I am taking from Athlons, and then some anonymous coaches' comments as well. All right. So the first stat is that Miami last season on defense recorded a tackle for loss on 11.8% of its defensive snaps, which ranked fourth in the ACC. That includes Notre Dame being in the ACC, ninth in the country. So basically, getting into the backfield, making disruptive plays, almost 12% of the plays were negative yardage plays for the Miami defense. Now, my question to you is, based on the personnel losses and based on who you expect to possibly improve and the incoming freshmen, do you think that they can keep up that kind of pace?
I think that they can, if not even get better, because that was going to be my question to you, Mark, as far as you're losing a first-round player in Jalen Phillips. You're also losing a day 3 guy in Quincy Roche just because he's not the uber athlete. I mean, if Quincy Roche would have come out in the 2010 draft, where guys like D Ford, who was not athletic, was more of a power rusher kind of guy and more of a true football player than he is just an uber athlete, then he probably would have been like a day 2 guy in all likelihood. But anyway, you're losing both of that production. That's 20 plus TFLs from just 2 participants. Okay, now everyone else is coming back. Nesta Silvera is coming back. John Ford, Jordan Miller, those guys are coming back. You're going to have the influx and the growth of a guy like Jared Harrison Hunt, who came on late for us as a 2-eye technique, 3 technique, interior defensive lineman. You have the growth of a guy like Elijah Roberts, former 4-star defensive end, moved to the 3 technique. You also have guys like Quentin Williams coming in, who's moving from the defensive end to defensive tackle. So the interior of this defensive line, I think, is what's going to be a huge step forward and a huge jump for Miami. And that's where it's predicate under Coach Manny Diaz, who is now our DC and coaching the defense. Again, his defense is very, very vital to the interior defensive lineman creating pressure and stopping the run, playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, okay? Because what that does is it bounces now everyone wants to bounce it back outside, and we should have the speed to be able to rally and get out there. Take you back to 2017, where we were flying around on defense. Well, the interior of the defensive line is what took that step with guys like Kendrick Norton and RJ McIntosh playing at big-time levels, and it bounced it outside to guys like Chad Thomas, who hadn't really shown much until then, guys like Joe Jackson, guys like John Garvin, and Trent Harris, who hadn't really shown much. They were able to show out because they had offenses had to try to go to the outside because the 2 men up the gut were handling business. Now, talk about who's going to step up for us on the defensive end side of things. You have a transfer in DeAndre Johnson from Tennessee. He's going to be battling for the strong side defensive end competition against number 53, Zach McLeod. And there's experience there in the SEC and the ACC. Their size, both who are 6'3", 250-plus guys. So it's not like we got small defensive ends that's going to be blown off the ball. Now, on the weak side is where a lot of question marks are going to be. Jafari Harvey, yes, he made some plays, but he's been a rotational guy. He's more likely than not going to be asked to start for us this year. A guy like Chance Williams, more likely than not, going to be asked to either contribute on a high level or if he beats Jafari Harvey out, can start for us. These are guys who are still within their first 2 years of playing college ball at this level. So we've got a couple questions going on at that side of the defense. So, and linebacker, huge question mark. I think one of the worst positions in the ACC, to me, one of the worst positions in college football, was the Miami Hurricanes linebacking core. And you want to talk about translating to TFLs, linebackers who shoot gaps and blitz a lot and play on the other side of the line of scrimmage, guys like Shaq Quarterman and Michael Pinckney, they did a very good job for that. As much as we Didn't really like them as much because they really sucked in coverage, but they look way better than what we got going on right now. Chuckling at inside linebacker for the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm hoping that the TFLs this year, Mark, to answer your question, comes majority from the defensive front. Because if we have to blitz a lot, that means that those 4 are not getting to the QB, and those 4 are not playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage and making plays. If you think back to when we were playing at very, very high level, latter half of 2016, almost the entire season of 2017, we did not have to blitz. Now, did we send blitz? Heck yeah, of course, you do that. But in contrast to 2018, we had a big drop-off in the production of the defensive line and a big drop-off in the talent of the defensive line. We had to send a whole bunch of blitzes, and we were ranked very high in big plays given up because teams would hit the hot route tight end, hit the hot route slant, hit the hot route out the running back out the backfield, and they would gain 30 yards because we had to blitz to affect the passer. Just like I said, 2017, we didn't have to do that much because R.J. McIntosh and Kendrick Norton and Chad Thomas and Joe Jackson were handling things from just those front 4, stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. So I hope that TFL production takes a step up, but what I don't hope is we have to blitz in order to either meet that same expectation of TFLs or to exceed it. I'm hoping that the defensive line can handle that by themselves.
This stat kind of plays into the previous one, but it shows that last season Miami's defense on third down averaged 8.3 yards to go for a first down for the offense. So basically they were succeeding on first and second down to place opposing offenses in 3rd and 8.3 to be exact. That was the best figure in the ACC and number 5 in the nation, making plays on first and second down to make it 3rd and long for the opponent.
The funny part about this, Mark, is this is where I've always felt like analytics in sports, they just don't mesh for me, because the way that you can illustrate these things makes it seem like our players were way better. Our scheme was way better than what it really was. You know, we're 5th best in the country. What you said, 5th in the number 1 in the ACC and 5th in the country.
First and second down.
We never once looked like that, like ever. So maybe against the lesser competition and some now I do dial that back. Some fourth quarters, Mark, this defense, oh my Lord, it's like Manny walked over there, Coach Diaz walked over there, took the headset from Coach Blake Baker, and he magically started calling the defense when it mattered. NC State was a shootout until the fourth quarter. Then they just couldn't move the ball anymore. Virginia Tech, we ended up winning by 1, but the defense started dominating in the fourth quarter. Virginia, although I'm still angry we only won that game by 1 point, they didn't move past the 50 after the midway of the third quarter. It's like Coach Diaz walked over there and he's like, no, we're going to go to this check. We're going to go to that check. Our linebackers, I want you to address this. We're not getting enough communication on the second half of our defense. We got to make sure we're talking this out. Boom, 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 boom. And then he walks away, and then Coach Blake Baker's like, okay, whatever he said, ready, break. You know, that's what it seemed like happened for us in some parts of last year. So I can see where those statistics can kind of show up, but I don't know, man. Number 1 in the country in certain stats. Oh, that's a tough one.
Number 1 in the ACC, number 5 in the country. Still way up there.
Great.
Yeah,
that's great. That's top echelon. I mean, number 5 out of 130 some odd teams. That's not easy pickings. But you're also talking about one of the best defensive minds in Coach Manny Diaz. He gets a lot of flack from me in certain situations. He gets flack from our fans in certain situations because, again, I went back and did the compare and contrast in preparing for this show, but also preparing for my film breakdown, and where I'm going to be talking about the differences in the 2020 defense, the 2020 and 2019 defense compared to 2017 and 2018. It mainly was who was in charge calling the defense. You had Coach Blake Baker, you had Coach Manny Diaz. Now, Coach Blake Baker had more of a gap sound, not necessarily like hold your gap, don't shoot gaps type of thing, but he's like, I need you to maintain this A. I'm not saying you have to sit here as a nose guard, but if you're going to shoot it, make sure nothing comes up this gut. So it had our players thinking a little more. Even if it's for a slight second, they're thinking more. Coach Diaz's way of doing it is my defensive front is going to shoot gaps, slant, attack, and twist. My linebackers are going to make up for any errors. They're going to make them right. That's what we call it on the defensive side ball. Make them right. So if I know for a fact Jalen Phillips loves to, if the offensive tackle gives him the inside shoulder, he's gonna pinch inside. The difference between Coach Blaker and Coach Diaz, Coach Blaker is like, oh, what are you doing? You have C gap. Coach Diaz is like, hey, weak side linebacker, you know he likes to do that. I need you to bounce outside. You take the C. We have to understand each other. We have to have that chemistry to know, hey, he likes to do that. You see it happening in front of you. So instead of you standing in the B gap, and now the UNC running back is off for 40 yards, creep to the gap over, make him right, and let's have every gap field to have every gap assigned. So I think it's going to be a big step up in the production of the defense because Coach Diaz has more of that fluid chemistry style of defense. And I think Coach Blake Baker had more of a, this is my system. You need to fit to my system kind of coach towards defense. And both can be successful, but I think for the Miami Hurricanes and the way that we recruit and the way that we coach, I think that it'll be a lot better under Coach Diaz.
Listen up, folks. We got the wholesome one here, and we've got about 90 people on the line. I'm going to make what would appear to be a ridiculous statement to say, why don't we get 1,000 people in by the end of the summer leading into football season? Because number one, we usually have about 120 to 130 in here. If everybody goes out there and gets 3 or 4 people, then we're at 300 or 400. And those people, then they come in, they enjoy it for 3 or 4 weeks. They go out there and they get a couple people. And there's no reason not to explode this as we head toward football season. So help us grow the channel, help us build this particular show. Head on over to the Wholesome Ones channel as well. I'll throw up his banner. If I got to figure everybody that's watching and listening knows the Wholesome One and knows what he brings. But at the same time, we do bring new people in here all the time. So if you're not aware, Wholesome One, HOLSUM and the number 1, HOLSUM number 1. Put it in the search bar right on YouTube. Check out his position breakdowns as we head toward August camp. All right, let's go to Maccabee here. Pretty basic question, but a very fundamental one if Miami wants to do big things this year. Hey, H1H, do you think our wide receivers will be better this year, a lot better? If not, do you see Diaz putting the young guys in?
Mark, I really had to sit and think about this, right? I'm not in the excuse business. I really don't like doing that much. But you think about the fact that we brought in an entire new offensive staff during COVID, 4 practices. Well, excuse me, before COVID-19. It was a thing, but it had not become, at least this way, Western just yet, okay? 4 practices into spring. Our offensive coordinator made it well known. I'm not watching film on these guys last year. Like a couple of things, but I'm going to judge them based off of what I see in drills. I'm going to judge them based off of what I see when we're out here doing 7-on-7 in the way that I think I can use them based on some of those things, not based on what the previous coaching staff had done. So they are learning our players on the fly. Last year, it really didn't work out well for us because I didn't think we started humming or clicking offensively with a couple players until the latter half of the season. But even then, The confidence was shot. The drop season was there. Okay. This year, we brought in 3 more, all 4 stars, 3 more wide receivers, 3 wide receivers, all from in-state. Okay. All understand the way that the brand of football we want to play here at the University of Miami. Coach Rob Likens went and handpicked out these guys to be very specific as to what he wants to bring in. And I don't believe that the same guys who started last year will start this year. I just don't. I'm not going to throw shade on these young men. I just think that you can't be in a program for 4 years and weigh the same that you did when you're here as when you're leaving. When you have young men who are freshmen who are coming in putting 5, 10, 15 pounds on, where's the effort? Where's the want to? Where's the grind? And I don't want to feel as though I'm giving up on the young men, or because they're still people, and they're our people. You know, they're our young men, because we recruit a lot of receivers from local. Okay, but it feels as though the game has kind of passed a couple of them by, and it is unfortunate. I hope that they can still find a role on this team, whether it be through special teams, whether it be through a rotational player at wide receiver, or if the opportunity presents themselves for them to step away and get a better opportunity at another institution. But I think we are moving on from a couple guys, and it's just that simple. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to bash them. I don't want to make them feel horrible. They got family. They have, friends that watch our shows, and it's not about that, but it's, calling a spade a spade. At the end of the day, I think it's over for a couple of young men, at least right now.
D. Marshall, who is the first string running back going to be this year? I'll add to that wholesome one by saying, does it matter?
Hallelujah. Hey, hey, listen, for me, he's 5'9". He's 218 pounds. He's from Miami Carroll City Senior High School down at the crib. He wears number 23 for the Miami Hurricanes. He used to have an old last name. Now he has a new last name, which should have always been his last name. If I gave it to you, all that right there, I'm talking about Cameron Harris. He's done nothing to lose his job. I think he's a great situational back. I think he can really hit great. He can bounce it outside. He can go up and cut. He's great in pass protection. Is he necessarily a young man that's going to bust you for 80 yards on every time you give him the ball? No. But he's like my comp for him has been Mark Ingram the entire time. Now, he doesn't have the Mark Ingram offensive line. I don't see him winning any Heismans, but it's just that simple. He has that knack of ability. He will protect your football. He's a very balanced guy. He's a 3-down back, and he's a lead by example guy. So I love the fact that, and he has 1 more year left. These other young men we have for 3 years. So he has 1 more year left and the ability to give the best that he can for the Miami Hurricanes. I think he should be the starter. But if we pull up into a game versus UVA or versus Pitt or something like that, where a guy like Donald Chaney Jr. would be better fit to start that week, and we could have Cam come in and beat on bodies as a 2nd and 3rd down back or a second quarter guy, cool. If you feel like you want to start Rooster this week because those linebackers are super slow, we're gonna have him out and split him to the in the slot and have him one-on-one, and that's cool too. However way you want to go with it, I think you have a great shot. Again, there's no need to pit one against another for unapparent reasons. Okay, they all play running back at the University of Miami. This is a position that rotates very frequently. Multiple backs play in a season. Multiple backs play in a game. Multiple backs play in a drive. Okay, so it's really no need to OD on that conversation. But for me, I would say Cameron Harris is my starting running back for the Miami Hurricanes.
113 on the line. Folks, let people know that we're here talking with a wholesome one every Thursday, breaking down Miami football. And you also need to subscribe, hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live, because we got to switch it up from time to time because people have schedules that have to be adjusted from time to time. NIL. So the Rod Favre is asking about it. Other people are asking about it. I've talked about it ad nauseum for several days. What are your thoughts about it and how it pertains to Miami specifically?
Here's my thing. Number one, I'm nervous about it because as a guy who does, film, and a guy who does highlight tapes and stuff, like, would I get in trouble for doing that? Because it has their face and logo and number, okay, and name on stuff. I don't know. I think Miami is in a great position for something like this to work out. I've always felt like these young men deserve these things. If you go back and you think of some of the best players in the history, wouldn't they be blessed to have this opportunity? Of course, you have your Tim Tebows, but even a little sooner, like Johnny Manziel, like that dude would have just made probably a couple million, especially in the state of Texas at TAMU. And he probably would have also put it in like orange and white just to be funny, just to be opposite. They people, if that's one rivalry in college football, not a lot of people talk about, it's the Texas A&M, man. You talk about pure hate. Whew, they can't stand each other. Similar to me in Tallahassee, but I think Miami is in a great position. Miami has also been a leader and a pioneer and a trailblazer in a lot of ways. The flashy one-back offense, was put on a big stage at Miami. Turnover chain, and now everyone, you got the chain. If you hit a home run, they put a chain on you in the MLB. It's just we just do things a little different here, and when Miami does it, hits home a little differently. Also have a leader in De'Aaron King, who says he wants to go out there and he wants everyone to eat. All the players who go to these events, he wants to divvy up the money amongst all of them, not just, let's say, for a wild example, he goes and the banquet raises $5,000. Well, every player who attend, he would like to split it up from everybody, as opposed to he get $5K because it was his event. So that's what you really want in a true leader, and someone who could step out and lead by example in that way. You also have the gym who sponsored the Miami Hurricanes players, and each player is receiving $6,000. And that's great. And I think I, for one, since we're a private institution, don't think this stuff should be public. That's just me. I think it would be beautiful we're able to conversate that type of stuff with our recruits or people who are committed. But this basically gives a baseline to everyone else to now come and double that. So I'm happy that it's free publicity. I mean, even SI made us the face of being selfish players, which was so disrespectful and evil. But hey, is there such thing as negative publicity or bad publicity? There's such thing as negative, yes, but bad publicity, hey, somebody's still talking about you. So as much as people try to claim the University of Miami is irrelevant, or the University of Miami, why are our players getting paid $6K if we haven't even won an ACC champ? All that kind of weird stuff that happens amongst the Twitterverse and amongst rival fans and in their organizations and their programs. So I think we're okay.
Well, that's one thing that nobody should really be able to complain about, because it's that individual business's decision as to where they're going to target their money, regardless of who's winning what. It's a free enterprise system, and they've decided that they want to connect with Miami and take advantage of the Miami brand and the Miami players. And regardless of what they won or what they haven't won, it's a business decision that's been made by that business. They can go pour their money into Rutgers or Wake Forest or Ohio State or wherever they want to. That's a decision, not for us to judge that you have to win something to profit from NIL.
That's a
I don't
great point.
understand that
I want to
criticism.
answer this question, but
Yep.
Avatar Mike made an amazing point. That's as far as SI is doing that to get clicks because Miami fans are the most active. Absolutely. I mean, yes, somebody had to approve that picture, but they knew for a fact if they were going to take, just like the trolls of Tallahassee, when they're that guy who asked Wesley Bassett to put the U down. Okay, and Tallahassee official recruiting page didn't release that. It was one of their GAs who's a troll. And he just takes shots. He literally sits at home, creates pictures, makes edits to take shots at Miami. Why? Because our fan base wants to defend that U with their pride and they're going to attack. It's simple ratings. It's smart. Should we like it? No. But that's why you should know yourself. Okay, understand that we have to know what not to step into. You know, just like you were saying before, that I get on Tallahassee fans for being here. Why are Miami Hurricanes on that show? Why? They don't deserve. I mean, as much as we support Mark, I mean, if you want to watch. But our comments, our dislikes, they don't deserve any of that crap. Don't give it to them. Ignore them. They are irrelevant to us. But we can't do that. We always have to defend it. We have to go out there and bam the wall for Miami so people take shots because they know that we're going to respond. And they know that we're going to be in the comment section and we're going to quote tweet and we're going to sub-tweet and all that type of stuff. And it's going to get more and more. Like I just said, there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's going to get more and more eyes on that post, more and more eyes on that video. If you take shots at certain fan bases that you know are going to respond. I mean, heck, Mark, you're not going to make a video about Iowa football sucks because you're going to get what 500 views maybe, and they're just going to nicely because it's Midwestern nice. They're going to nicely go, hey, I disagree with this video, bud. I don't think that was very nice of you. Now, if you make a video and you say, I think Tallahassee football is dead, Miami Hurricanes fans are going to retweet that and quote tweet out and say, yeah, you're right. Their fans are going to go, you're crazy. What are you talking about? We just won a championship not too long ago. It's going to create conversation. And that's what the media business is about.
And you're exactly right. When you responded to the selection of the picture of the Miami football team coming out onto the field, because SI, of course, knows exactly what they're doing. And if they wanted to just be, you know, I'm thinking back to when SI was a huge deal, when you would get your SI and millions of people across the country got the actual hard copy in the mail, as I did for years and years and years. And if they were tackling a difficult issue in the NFL or in whatever sport or college football, and it didn't have to do with any particular team, it was just an issue, drugs or recruiting issues or whatever, to be fair, they would take some kind of collage of pictures to communicate to the audience, this is a college football situation. This is a college football issue. Well, this is a college football issue. It's not a Miami thing. There are going to be players profiting from every school in the country. It's not a Miami thing. They shouldn't have taken a Miami picture and put it on that story. It should have been crafted in some other way to indicate this is a college football initiative. But you're right. They know that they're going to push buttons with a larger number of people that way.
And that's the thing, you know, and it's in not just football. That's just period in life. You attack a certain mindset of people, their extremists are going to come out. And the way social media works, if you're really for something, you're going to see that stuff. The way these algorithms work, if you're really against something, you're also going to see that too, because it wants to get you to react to things, to thumbs down, to love, to like, to hit the care on Facebook. Like they just want you to react to stuff so that you keep this thing in your phone, in your hand more often and react to their content. So keep that in mind, Canes fans. Dropping some information.
Truth be known about the way I craft my videos and the titles and the thumbnails of the videos is that they're truthful. They're not clickbaitish. They're truthful. They're factual, but I want to craft a title that's going to be the most engaging one that's still true to the topic. I don't just put a clickbait title just to get people to click on it, but I try to think of something that's interesting, intriguing, that's still truthful about what's in the video. That just makes sense. All right. Here's another one for you. We've got a stat here that, so I can't exactly explain this formula, but I understand it and I agree with it, that somebody's put together a formula that basically measures what is a successful play by an offense. Meaning the most obvious example of this is if it's 3rd and 5, if you get 3 yards, that's not a successful play. If you get 5 yards and you get the first down, that's a successful play. You got to get, and especially if it's 4th down, and it's 4th and 8, you got to get 8 yards. If you get 7, that's not a successful play. Whatever's required of that down to be successful. Now, 1st and 2nd down, it's more of a judgment as to what's a successful play in 1st down, and I forget what the numbers are, but it's 4.5 yards or something like that. But on 3rd and 4th down, it's more obvious as to what a successful play is. So anyway, somebody came up with some kind of metric to basically determine what successful plays are based on how much yardage you need to get to a 1st down. And Miami was the most improved offense in the ACC from 2019 to 2020 in regards to getting the required yardage on any given play.
Woo, man, they are really stretching. Wow.
And
okay.
9th in the country.
That's great. I mean, yeah, I can agree. We had a really big jump. The offense was putrid and hard to even watch, let alone hard to commit to as a recruit with what was going on under Dan Enos. It's just that simple. There's no way around that, Mark. It was horrible. It's not 1986. The under center spread just doesn't make any sense anymore. I mean, like we've talked about this ad nauseum, Mark. 10 years ago, the group of 5, before that was a thing, it was basically people even viewed the group of 5 as just like D2 kind of stuff. Like they just didn't respect it. The spread was for the Louisvilles, who was in the Big East at the time, now the American. It was for the UCF, the USF, the SMUs, the SDSU, San Diego State, San Jose State. That's how people view like, that's that over there. It's for the little guys. In the Pac-12 and the Big 12 started to do it. And even then, they would get in these big games and they would lose. Oregon in the national championship versus Auburn, lose. Oklahoma in some big time games, they would lose those games too. So it didn't really work out. But now everyone does it. But in 2019, the Miami Hurricanes decided to hire a guy who hadn't called plays since like 4 or 5 years before that when he was in Arkansas. They ain't running no spread in Arkansas, okay? They're going to be running the ball, especially with Brett Bielema, who's coming from Wisconsin, who they were, I mean, what a factory he was helping build at Wisconsin. And he brought that mindset down to the southern part, and he was able to mix the SEC style of offensive line, athletic offensive linemen with the Big Ten technique, and made some really nice offensive lines there in Arkansas. And who was his offensive coordinator? Dan Enos. And we decided to bring that to Miami with a very young, subpar offensive line. It just wasn't a good mix. So I think us moving to the spread, which I still think there's so many parts of this offense that hasn't even been touched. Number one, from having to put it together through Zoom, and then number two, from just basically learning your players over time this past season. So I do agree that it was a big step forward in the production and the growth of the offensive line.
All right. If we have missed your question, I'm going to tell you one thing. The most effective way to get your question posted is to attach it to a super chat. That doesn't mean you need a super chat to get your question answered. Obviously, we answer questions and comments every week for hours and hours and hours that are not attached to the super chat. But if there's a ton of questions, I'm obviously going to go grab a super chat if it comes in. There was a bit of a question that I'm going to consider it. Maybe there was a trolling attempt there, but I think there's some legitimacy there somewhere. Basically, can Alabama ruin the season? And you've spoke to this, whether Miami comes out and pulls off a miraculous win and then gets lost in the clouds, or whether they get beat down and demoralized so much. And Miami fans don't want to hear this, but that possibility does exist, that could be an ugly game, that you carry that and you suddenly doubt yourself and just get so beaten down by that loss that it has effects past week one.
Mark, either way this game goes, it cannot affect the rest of your season. If you upset Alabama and you win this game, you can't allow yourself to think you can carry that momentum through the rest of the season. No, because the very next day is a different day. The very next game is a different game. The game plan, the style of play, how we're going to attack each other is going to be different. Now, some people don't want to hear that. Some people want me to come on here and flip tables and give the Stone Cold Birdie and F Bama, and it's not. You can go somewhere else for that. Okay, there's other people who are blessed to have this square and can talk to you about that. That's not what I'm going to tell you. What I'm going to tell you is this coaching staff is going to work their behinds off to put our players in the best situation to go out there and play. Alabama's going to do the exact same thing. There's a big discrepancy, a big difference in the caliber of players who will be on the football field, but you still got to go out there, execute. Offensive line has to block. Running backs got to hit holes. QB has to make throws. Wide receivers got to catch. Defensive players got to tackle. The game is very simple, but the closer and closer you get, the higher level you go, the more detailed the game has to be, the more detailed the execution has to be. And it has to be down in and down out for 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 8, 9 quarters like LSU, Texas A&M a couple years ago. We have to just keep going out there and playing football. It's just that simple. Are they better than us right now? Yes. Do they have to still go out there and prove it? Hell yeah. They got to go out there and play football, just like we have to too. So I'm not going to come here and give you some I have a dream speech about Miami upsetting Alabama. And I'm also not going to tell you that we have no chance and we should just lay down and give up and just fast forward our lives to the very next week and we play App State and beat the crap out of them. No. September 4th is still a game. The tickets are sold. Okay, the plane rides are there for the team. The hotels have been bought. You're going to buy it. You're going to line up. And at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a ball is going to be kicked to either Miami or Alabama. And you're going to play football for 60 minutes. Hopefully everything you've done up until that very second has prepared you to go out there and play the best game that you can for as long as you can. And that's all you could ask about the young men and the staff, is that they go out there, they're prepared at a very high level, and then they give the most effort that they can. And you be proud of what you left on that football field. It's just that simple.
This is a great question when we've got more time. So we're going to save this question for next week or later to get your full rundown as Miami defensive coordinator, how you would attack the Alabama offense. So we'll put that in the rear view.
Put that aside. I have a whole soliloquy for that answer. Got you.
Do you have any thoughts about silent commits? Chris is asking about silent commits, whether you would support those, or do you think that they have any value?
I don't think that it should ever be public. I think that that's on us. Why is it known that Miami has silent commits? They're silent for a reason. You want to know why? Because if the prospect doesn't pick your school, you're basically sitting there waiting. Okay, there's another school that they wouldn't mind going to also, and they're going to see what they have to offer. They've already had Miami. They've already put on our chain, which I still can't stand. You got to be a commit to put on the chain, or you got to already be on the team. But that's just me. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. Okay. Silent commits to me don't make much sense. If you have that silent commit and they stay in house, it can't get out. Okay. And second of all, why are we promoting this? If the young man is going to announce, let's say a young man silent commits to you on July 1st, but he's not announcing until July 17th, what's the point of even announcing that? Why? Why even bring that up? He's going to announce on the 17th, and if you come out and say we have silent commits and he picks another school, now you look stupid. If you don't say anything and he picks another school, you just, hey, we lost. On to the next one. Let's try a shot with somebody else.
People like to feel important. And a lot of people on social media and in media in general think that if they've got some kind of insider scoop or some intel, some inside information that they can kind of throw out there, that makes them more important.
Yeah, I know exactly where you come from with that, because a lot of people, some of us are preview to a little inside information, and some of us know about what's going to happen here soon with a guy who's going to be committing not too soon, not too far away from now. And I'm not too excited about it, but at the end of the day, you never know what could happen. And even if a young man still commits to another school, like I've been saying to you before, Mark, you still continue to keep that relationship up with the young man, because until they put pen to paper and enroll in that institution, they should still be on your big board, especially if they're a highly sought after recruit who can come in and help change your program. That's just my opinion.
Dennis, thanks for being here as always. No, I have not forgotten about 1983, that Miami lost his first game 28-3 to Florida, then won 11 consecutive games and won the national championship after they beat Nebraska at the Orange Bowl. I understand that. I still think that was 38 years ago. There are different impacts on different teams, and I was just asking the question. None of us will know. None of us should pretend to know how Miami or any team's going to respond to a big win or a big loss. We don't know. They're individuals who have their own psyche, their own level of confidence, their own perseverance and ability to bounce back. I'm never going to be the judge of that. I'll see it play out, and then I'll say, well, it appears as though Miami really took that loss hard because, man, they were sluggish against App State the next week. I'll make those sorts of statements, but I'm not going to predict whether they're going to or not. And I'll even say it looks like they're sluggish against App State. I'm not going to say for sure that Alabama had that impact. Maybe App State was just up for the game, and maybe Miami just is figuring things out. I'm the last person to try to predict or guess what's in people's minds and hearts. I always hate that, watching football games, when commentators making all sorts of comments about this team looks up and that team looks this and that guy looks, just because two guys are kind of getting into it on the sideline, or because somebody walked away from somebody else, that they come up with some big story about what they think just happened.
Well, I think some of that also has a little validity to it, Mark, because energy, to me, if it's that severe, it is definitely visible. If you got lackluster guys and not getting off blocks on the defensive line, and they kind of just look outmatched and not there psychologically, they look like they don't want to be there. They're not giving the same level of effort. That's obvious. A sixth grader could sit there and watch that game and go, yo, they're not playing the same way that they did last week versus Bama, or last week versus UNC, or last week versus Florida. Okay. And every time Miami loses the game opener, everyone posts that crap about the championship team that lost to Florida the first game of the season. Again, love your past, embrace your past, but understand that has nothing to do with right now. It just doesn't. We have to stop that. I'm telling you, man, we have to change that mindset, Mark. I even went as far, Mark, because you could like share screens and stuff on here. I wanted the whole star system argument on here. Whoa, can't stand it amongst our fan base, because we were blessed back in the day when it was just newspaper clippings. Heck, for some of these people that they talk about were 2 and 3 star, the internet wasn't even a thing. Okay. Or everyone wasn't privy to it. I think it was a thing, but everyone didn't have it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't keep preaching to me about Ray Lewis wasn't a rated and Ed Reed was a 2-star. Stop that. Okay. A talent like Ed Reed and a talent like Ray Lewis would be recognized and given the star system today. There are dozens amongst dozens of people whose job it is to travel local regional areas and watch high school football games and report back to their higher-ups who have higher-ups who sit on these computers to create profiles, bro. So the 3-star from Melbourne, Florida, or the no-rated elite nose guard from Melbourne, Florida that no one's heard of is today's 3-star or 4-star. Okay, if they're that elite, they're going to make a rating system. It's just that simple. Okay, I'm tired of it. And like I said, I even went here, Mark. I went down the list and I pulled up 247.com and I scrolled down it. We just did the top 25 recruits. And I simply asked him, would you take, for example, Evan Neal and Zalonta Hillary with the same recruiting class? One was a 3-star, one was a 5-star. Mark, there are people in my chat saying that they would take the 3-star because he's going to work harder over Evan Neal, a top 10 pick. That's the mindset that we have to get out. It's over. That stuff is gone, man.
King Kane at 305. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. You guys are the best. Thanks for all the great info. Appreciate that, King Kane 305. We're going to wrap it up right now. We appreciate the wholesome one. He knows that. I hope all of you do as well. He brings his insight, his knowledge, his background, everything to the table, his passion each and every week for us here at the Voice of College Football. I am off to talk Michigan and Ohio State the next 2 half hours here at the Voice of College Football. Those are records, not live streams. Got Michigan coming up 2:30 right now.
Oh, tell them I'm sorry, okay? It's not as bad as they think. It's okay.
All right, good stuff. All right, wholesome one. Have a good week.
Have a great day. God bless and go Canes, guys.